Everyone, this is Mr. Muhammad coming up with another video. I'm going to solve some questions about the revision for math this term, and it's going to be just like some focused question that I want to solve with you guys so you can just like have an idea about what the test might look like, and also to practice more, check your work, and also if we didn't get a chance to solve them in the class. So the first question I have here is solve each of the following. So we have four equations that we need to solve, and that means we need to find a final answer, or the roots of the equation, if you will, or the x-intercepts. There are many ways to solve these questions. Just want to make sure that everybody understands how to solve them. So let's start from the beginning. The first question I have is, okay, so number A. So I'm going to start right here from A, which is 3x power 3 equals 12x squared. So in the beginning you might think, okay, so I have x power 3 and x power 2, so I can divide all the way by x squared, so I can get rid of both of them. But actually you shouldn't do this because you don't know if x is going to be 0 or not. That's why we cannot do this, so we're not going to do it. So I'm going to erase this and go ahead and do proper solving. So it's going to be like this. So I will take 3x power 3 and get the 12x squared to the other side, and everything is becoming 0. So I take the highest common factor, which is 3x squared, divide. So it's going to be x minus 4 equals 0. That, and using the zero product property, then you end up with either 3x squared equal to 0 or x minus 4 equals to 0. So in this case x equal to 0, but because it's a quadratic equation, that means it's multiplicity of 2, and this one x equals to 4. Then we have three answers. We have 2 zeros and 4. That's 3 roots because the equation was initially a third degree equation. And that's how we solve A. Let's go ahead and solve B. So I'm going to go down a little bit. Okay, so B is x squared minus 64 equal to 0. So that's B. So I'm going to start somewhere here. X squared, oops, that doesn't look very good. X squared minus 64 equals to 0. And there are two ways actually to solve this question. We can either take the 64 to the other side and then take the square root, or we can factor this as a difference of two squares. And actually I'm going to go ahead and factor it. So difference of two squares look like this. So x squared becomes x here, x there. 64, the square root of 64 is like, you think of a number, you multiply by itself, you get 64, and that number of course is 8. One time it's plus, the other one is minus. That means x plus 8 is equal to 0, or x minus 8 equal to 0. That gives you x equal minus 8. That's your first answer. Or x equal positive 8. So you have two solutions. Another way to solve this one, I'm going to say like another way to solve B. So it's going to be B prime. X squared minus 64 equal to 0. We could have done like this. X squared equal positive 64. And then we take the square root. So x equals the positive or negative square root of 64. That's positive or negative 8. Which is basically the same final answer. You end up with two roots. Okay, question C, I have x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0. So let's see. X squared plus 6x, okay, plus 8 equals to 0. Plus 8 equals to 0. So let's take a look how to solve that one. Alright, first when you take a look at this, one of the things that can come up in your mind is using the quadratic formula, which will not be wrong. But also, let's just check normal factoring. How can we factor this into two factors? So think about two numbers. When you multiply them, you get 8. And when you add them, you get 6. So what are these two numbers? When you multiply them, I get 8. And then add them to get 6. That's 4 times 2. right? So the easy way to do this is write the factors of 8. So you have 1 times 8, but when you add them, you don't get 6, so this one is wrong. I have 2 times 4. This is correct. And that's it. So these are the factors of 8. So you can go ahead and just do it like this. X plus 2, x plus 4 equal to 0. And if you want to check your work, you can just redistribute this into this and you get the same expression. So at the end of the day, x plus 2 is equal to 0, or x plus 4 equals to 0. That gives me x equal to negative 2, or x equal to negative 4. So these two values satisfy the equation above. Last equation, it's a longer one, so we need to think a little bit about it. It's x plus 5 squared, number D, x plus 5 squared, plus 8x plus 5 plus 8x plus 5 and minus 20. Then I have minus 20 equals to 0. Okay, so an easy way to think about this question, it looks like a quadratic equation if only this is not x plus 5 together, if it's like only one variable, if there is no 5, right? It looks exactly like quadratic equation. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to assume that actually x plus 5 is not two numbers. I can make it just equal to y, and we can come up to that later and fix it. So I'm going to rewrite the equation like this: y squared plus 8y minus 20 equals to 0. And then you think about two numbers. When you multiply them, you get minus 20, and when you add them, you get 8. Or think about the factors of minus 20 that could be added up to give you positive 8. And of course, because the number is positive and the product is negative, that means only one of the numbers is negative and the higher one is positive. So I think two numbers, when you multiply them, you get 20, and when you add them, you get 8. So I think they are, and I think you already guessed it, they are minus 10 and 2, because 10 minus 2 is positive 8, and when you multiply them, you get minus 20. So you can rewrite the answer like this: y plus 2, y minus 10 equals to 0. Oh, oops, I made a mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and get my eraser. Not like that. So it should be y minus 2 and y plus 10, because 10 minus 2 is positive 8. Okay, so at the end of the day, you end up with two y's, either y equals 2 or y equals minus 10. However, that's not the final answer though, because you did not have y in the main equation, you had x plus 5. So I'm going to go ahead and return from here again y equal x plus 5. That's x plus 5 equals 2, or x plus 5 equals to minus 10. And to answer that, you have x equal 2 minus 5 is minus 3. And here, minus 10 minus 5 is minus 15. Another way to solve that question, but it's probably a longer way, is to actually break down those brackets, then add up the similar terms. You're going to end up with a bigger equation. Of course, it will be quadratic equation also, but it's going to be longer, all right? Because you're going to have to add and group numbers together. I hope that you learned something from this video. If you have any questions or any concerns, just let me know so we can straighten them out before the test.